Ryan liked quiet places. In a city that was always filled with movement, sound, and flashing lights, he wanted somewhere still. That was why he often went to the very top of the colony dome, where a special glass rooftop looked out into space. From there he could see the stars without any wall between him and the galaxy. It felt like freedom, even though he was still inside the protective glass. He had been going there since he was a child, but now, as a young engineer, the rooftop had become more important to him. Work was busy, life was noisy, but the rooftop was calm. When he stood there, he felt that he was part of something bigger than his own life. One evening, when the city lights below were soft and the stars outside the dome shone like silver dust, Ryan climbed the long stairs to the rooftop. He expected to be alone, like always. But when he stepped out onto the glass floor, he saw a figure already standing there. She was tall and graceful, her form outlined by the starlight. At first, Ryan thought she was human, but when he moved closer, he noticed her features were different. Her skin had a faint shimmer, almost like crystal reflecting light. Her eyes were wide and calm, glowing slightly as they looked at the endless space. Ryan recognized her immediately. She was Laura, one of the visiting diplomats from another world. He had seen her image on the colony screens when the new alliance was announced. She was here to build trust between her people and the humans. For a moment, Ryan wondered if he should leave. Maybe she wanted the rooftop to herself. But then she turned, noticed him, and gave a small, polite nod. "You come here too." Her voice was soft, with a musical tone, almost like a quiet song. Ryan smiled, a little nervous. "Yes. I come here often. It's peaceful." Laura looked back at the stars. "I was told humans like to look at the sky. I wanted to see why." He stepped closer, careful not to disturb her space. "Do your people not look at the stars?" "We look," she answered slowly, "but not like this. For us, the sky is only a measure of time. The stars are markers, guiding us. But for you humans, I can feel something different. You look at the stars as if they are calling you." Ryan thought about her words. She was right. He had never thought about it before, but humans did not just see stars as lights. They saw them as dreams, goals, promises of adventure. "I think it's because we always want more," he said. "We don't just live. We hope. We wonder what's out there, and we dream of reaching it." Laura turned her glowing eyes toward him, studying him carefully. "Dreaming," she repeated, as if testing the word. "That is a strange thing. My people do not use that word." Ryan chuckled softly. "It's one of our favorite things. Dreaming makes us human." For a while, they both stood silently, watching the stars together. The city below looked like a sea of lights, and above, the galaxy stretched forever. The rooftop was quiet except for the faint hum of the dome's shield. Ryan felt a strange warmth. He had stood on this rooftop many times, but it had never felt like this before. Usually, it was just him and the stars. Now, it was him, the stars, and someone who understood the feeling, even if she came from a different world. Finally, Laura spoke again. "When I stand here, I begin to understand. The stars do look alive. As if they are speaking to us." Ryan smiled at her words. "Maybe they are." Their eyes met for a brief second, and something unspoken passed between them. Neither of them moved, but the air around them seemed lighter, brighter. Then Laura lowered her gaze and gave a small, graceful bow of her head. "Thank you, human. I will come here again." Ryan felt his heart jump. She had called him human, not by name, but there was no distance in her voice. It sounded gentle, almost curious. "You're welcome here anytime," he replied, his tone calm but carrying more meaning than the words themselves. As she walked back toward the stairs, her steps light on the glass, Ryan stayed behind, watching the stars. But his mind was not only on the stars anymore. That night, as he finally turned to leave, he knew something had changed. The rooftop was no longer just his secret place. It had become something else, a place where two different worlds had quietly touched. And somewhere deep inside, Ryan felt that this was only the beginning. Ryan returned to the glass rooftop the next evening, unsure if he would find her again. The city below still shined with its busy lights, but his eyes searched only for one figure. For a moment, the rooftop looked empty, and his heart sank. But then, at the far side near the edge, he saw her. Laura was standing with her hands folded, her gaze fixed on the stars. The faint shimmer of her skin reflected the starlight, making her look almost like she belonged to the sky itself. Ryan hesitated before walking closer. Would she welcome him again, or would she prefer to be alone? Before he could decide, Laura turned slightly and gave him a small nod. That simple gesture made him relax. "You came back," she said. "So did you," he answered with a smile. They stood side by side in silence for a while. The glass rooftop was wide, yet it felt like the stars had pulled them closer together. Ryan finally spoke, his voice softer than usual. "Do you want to hear about Earth?" Laura tilted her head. "Earth, yes. I have seen images in your archives, but I want to hear how you describe it. Humans use words in ways that images cannot." Ryan's eyes lit up. He began with the oceans. He told her about waves that never stopped moving, about water stretching so far that a person standing at the shore could not see the end. He spoke of the sound crashing, rolling, sometimes calm like a song. Laura listened carefully, her glowing eyes never leaving his face. "So much water," she whispered. "My world does not have oceans. We have rivers, yes, but not endless seas. How do humans feel when they look at such a thing?" Ryan thought about it. "Small," he said. "But also alive. The ocean is like a reminder that the world is bigger than us, but still, it belongs to us too." Her expression softened, almost like a hidden smile. "Strange. Your words make me feel the ocean, even though I have never seen it." Encouraged, Ryan told her about forests next, the smell of green leaves after rain, the soft earth underfoot, the way sunlight filtered through branches. He tried to explain how walking in a forest felt like stepping into another world, quiet but full of life. Laura closed her eyes for a moment, as if painting the picture inside her mind. "We have crystal mountains," she said when she opened them again. "They rise high into the sky, sharp and shining. When the winds pass through them, they sing. A long, low sound, like voices calling across the land." Ryan was silent, imagining it. "Mountains that sing, that sounds like something from a dream." "It is real," she replied gently. "On cold nights, when the air is still, the crystals glow. Families sit together and listen to the mountains, as if they are telling stories from long ago." Ryan's heart stirred. He realized something important: this was not just an exchange of facts. It was sharing pieces of their souls. Her world lived inside her words, just as his did inside his. "You know," he said with a quiet laugh, if humans saw those mountains, they would try to climb them. Laura turned to him, curious. Climb? Even if they are dangerous? Especially then, Ryan answered with a grin. Humans always want to reach the top, no matter how hard. That's how we are. Laura studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Yes. I can see it in your eyes. Always reaching. Always dreaming. Her words made his chest warm. For the first time, he felt she truly understood something about humans, not from books or records, but from standing here with him. The silence that followed was not heavy. It was gentle, like the pause between notes in a song. Finally, Ryan asked, do your people tell stories? Laura looked at the stars before answering. We do, but our stories are not about dreams. They are lessons, ways to remember balance. But I think, perhaps I like human stories better. They are full of heart. Ryan smiled at that. Maybe one day, I'll tell you a story just for you. Her eyes softened again, and though she said nothing, he could sense the meaning behind her calm expression. The rooftop had once been a place of silence for him. Now it was filled with voices, his and hers blending together under the endless stars. As the night grew colder, neither wanted to leave, but both knew they must. Laura finally stepped back, her shimmering form almost blending with the starlight. I will come again, she said. Ryan nodded, his heart steady but hopeful. So will I. When she left, the rooftop felt different from before. Not empty, not lonely, but waiting. Ryan knew now that the rooftop was no longer just his secret. It had become theirs. And in that shared space, under glass and starlight, something quiet and strong was beginning to grow. Days turned into weeks, and the glass rooftop became a place of quiet meetings. Ryan and Laura no longer needed many words to feel connected. Sometimes they spoke of oceans and mountains, sometimes of dreams and balance, but sometimes they simply stood together, letting the silence carry meaning. One evening, Ryan decided to bring something with him. He wanted to give Laura a small piece of earth, not an object of great value, just something simple, something human. In his pocket, he carried a folded paper flower. It was made from a thin sheet, carefully bent and shaped into petals. It was not perfect, but it was made with care. When he reached the rooftop, Laura was already there, standing near the edge, her eyes lifted to the stars. She turned when she heard his steps, her shimmering skin catching the faint light. You are late today, she said softly. I had something to finish, Ryan replied, smiling. But I brought you something. Laura looked at his closed hand with quiet curiosity. When he opened it, showing the folded flower, she tilted her head slightly. It is paper, she said. Yes, Ryan nodded. It is a flower, made by hand. On Earth, children often make these to give to friends or family. I thought, maybe you would like one. For a moment, Laura did not move. Her glowing eyes rested on the flower, then lifted to Ryan's face. There was something unreadable in her expression. Slowly, very carefully, she reached out and took the paper flower. Her fingers held it as if it were made of glass. Do you know what this means? She asked quietly. Ryan blinked, confused. It means I wanted to share something small with you. Something from my world. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed a flicker of emotion he could not name. Among my people, folded symbols are sacred. They are not given lightly. A folded shape is a promise, a binding of one life to another. Ryan's breath caught. He had no idea. I didn't know. I'm sorry, Laura. To humans, it is only a token of friendship. But her gaze stayed fixed on him, and he could see a kind of conflict inside her. She held the flower close, almost protectively, yet her voice trembled. If others of my people saw this, they would think you had offered me more than you understand. They would say you tied yourself to me without words. Silence fell over the rooftop. The stars above seemed sharper, colder. Ryan felt a weight in his chest. He had wanted to make her smile, but instead, he had brought confusion. I didn't mean to cause trouble, he said softly. I just wanted you to have something from Earth. Laura turned away, looking back at the endless galaxy. The paper flower rested in her hand, glowing faintly in the starlight. Your gift is beautiful, she whispered, but it carries meaning you cannot control. I must think about this. Ryan wanted to explain again, to insist it was only a simple human gesture, but he could see she needed space. Her calm face was different tonight, less open, more guarded. For the first time since their meetings began, the rooftop felt heavy. After a long silence, Laura finally spoke. Perhaps we should not meet every night. I do not want misunderstanding to grow. Her words struck Ryan deeply, but he nodded slowly. If that is what you need. Laura bowed her head, holding the folded flower carefully as she stepped back toward the stairs. Her shimmering figure disappeared into the shadows below, leaving Ryan alone. He stood there for a long time, staring at the stars that no longer seemed so bright. His hands still tingled where the flower had been, and his heart ached at the thought that a simple gesture had built a wall between them. When he finally left the rooftop, his steps were slow. He wondered if he had ruined something fragile, something that had only just begun. Yet deep inside, he also knew something else. The paper flower was not just a mistake. It had revealed something hidden, something more than words. If Laura's people saw folded symbols as promises, maybe, in some quiet corner of her heart, she had already accepted it as one. But for now, the rooftop was silent, waiting for the next meeting if there would be one. For 2 nights, the rooftop stayed empty. Ryan went there anyway, standing under the stars, but the glass floor felt colder without her. He looked at the spot where Laura usually stood and wished he could go back in time. The paper flower had seemed like a small, harmless gift, but it had changed everything. By the 3rd night, Ryan could no longer stay silent. He knew he had made a mistake, but he also knew that humans had a way of solving mistakes by facing them, not by running away. He decided he would speak to Laura, no matter how difficult the words might be. When he climbed the long stairs that evening, he felt nervous. His heart beat faster with every step. At the top, the stars were waiting, but for a moment, he thought she would not come. Then, just as he turned to leave, he saw her. Laura stepped onto the glass rooftop, her form glowing softly in the starlight. She moved slowly, as if unsure whether she belonged there. Ryan took a careful breath. Laura, he said, his voice steady but gentle. Her eyes met his, calm but guarded. You still come here. I told you, Ryan said with a small smile, this place is part of me. But more than that. I hoped you would come back. For a while, she did not reply. The silence stretched between them. Ryan could have let it stay, but he chose not to. Humans, he thought, were not meant to stay silent forever. I need to tell you the truth, he began. When I gave you that flower, I didn't know what it meant in your culture. To me, it was only a simple gift. I wanted you to have something from my world. I didn't mean to cause trouble. Laura held his gaze, her glowing eyes unreadable. Your words are simple, but your mistake was not small. Among my people, promises are sacred. I understand, Ryan said. But humans are different. We make mistakes. We step in the wrong place, we say the wrong thing, but then we admit it. That's our way. We face it honestly, even if it's difficult. I don't want to hide behind silence. I'd rather tell you the truth. The rooftop grew quiet again, but this time the silence was softer. Laura tilted her head slightly, as if his words had touched something inside her. My people do not speak of mistakes, she said at last. We keep them hidden, as if silence can erase them. But you stand here and show them. You speak them out loud. That's the human way, Ryan replied. We believe that only by facing mistakes can we move forward. And I don't want to move forward without you. Her eyes widened slightly at his last words. For a moment, Ryan wondered if he had said too much. But then she looked down at her hand. Slowly, she opened it, and in her palm lay the folded paper flower. She had kept it. I thought about this, she said quietly. Part of me wanted to leave it behind. But another part of me could not. Maybe because your way is different. Maybe because, in your way, this flower is not a mistake, it is a piece of yourself. Ryan's chest warmed at her words. That's exactly what it is. A small piece of me, given to you. Laura's calm expression softened, and for the first time in days, a faint smile touched her lips. It was not wide, not bright, but gentle like the first light of dawn. I think, she said slowly, that I want to learn more about this human way. About facing mistakes, about giving pieces of yourself. It feels honest. Ryan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The rooftop no longer felt heavy. The stars above seemed warmer, brighter. I'll show you, he said softly. If you let me. She nodded once, her movements graceful. Then we will meet again. The rooftop was silent after that, but it was no longer the silence of distance. It was the silence of two people standing close, even without words. As they left together, Ryan felt something had shifted. He had not only repaired what was broken, he had built something stronger. The rooftop, once a place of loneliness, was now a place of honesty. And honesty, Ryan realized, was the bridge between two very different worlds. The rooftop meetings became steady again. After the misunderstanding, Ryan and Laura spoke more openly. Each night seemed to carry something new, new stories, new questions, new quiet moments where the stars felt closer. The rooftop was no longer just a place to stand, it was a place where their two worlds touched. One evening, Ryan climbed the stairs with a small music player in his hand. He had been thinking about it for days, unsure if it was too bold. But the human way, he reminded himself, was to try. If he never tried, he would never know. When he reached the top, Laura was already there. Her shimmering form was turned toward the galaxy, her calm expression lit by starlight. She greeted him with a small nod, as always. You look thoughtful, she said. Ryan smiled, holding up the small device. Maybe. I brought something tonight. Music. Her glowing eyes shifted with curiosity. Music. We have sound rituals on my world, but I do not know if it is the same. Then let me show you, Ryan replied, pressing a button. Soft notes began to flow from the device. It was a slow, gentle tune, made of strings and piano. The sound filled the rooftop like a quiet river. Laura listened, her head tilting slightly. "It is alive," she whispered. "It moves like wind through the stars." Ryan stepped closer, his heart beating faster. "There's something else I want to share. On Earth, when we hear music like this, sometimes we dance." Her brows lifted slightly. "Dance? What is that?" He chuckled softly. "It's hard to explain. It's moving with the music, letting your body follow the rhythm. Here, I'll show you." He took a step, then another, simple and slow. He moved his hands gently, letting the sound guide him. He did not want to overwhelm her, just show the simplicity of it. Laura watched carefully, her eyes bright with interest. "Humans move their bodies, like waves," she murmured. "Something like that," Ryan said with a grin. Then, gathering his courage, he stretched out a hand toward her. "Would you like to try?" Laura hesitated. Her fingers tightened around the folded paper flower she still carried, hidden in her sleeve. Dancing was not part of her culture. It felt strange, even improper. Yet, as she looked at Ryan's open hand, she felt the same honesty that had drawn her to him from the start. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. Ryan guided her carefully, showing her one simple step at a time. "Just follow me. Don't think too much. Let the music do the work." At first, her movements were stiff, unsure. Her people valued calm stillness, not flowing steps. But as the music wrapped around them, she began to relax. Her shimmering form moved with his, light reflecting across the glass rooftop. "You're doing well," Ryan said softly. Laura gave the smallest of smiles. "I feel unbalanced. But not unpleasant." They moved together across the rooftop, the stars above shining through the glass dome. The city lights below looked like a sea of fireflies, and the rooftop itself became their quiet stage. For Ryan, it felt like a dream, sharing not only words and stories, but movement, rhythm, closeness. He had danced before with other humans, but never like this. Never with someone who made every step feel like discovery. For Laura, it was something entirely new. At first she thought it would be only motion, but soon she realized it was more. It was trust. Each time she let him guide her, she trusted him not to let her fall. Each step was a promise, silent but clear. The music slowed, then faded into silence. Yet for a moment, they did not let go of each other's hands. They stood in the center of the glass rooftop, breathing quietly, the stars watching. Finally, Ryan whispered, "See? That's dancing." Laura looked at him, her eyes soft and glowing. "It is not just movement. It is connection." Ryan nodded. "Yes. That's why humans love it." She glanced down at their joined hands, then back at his face. Something unspoken passed between them again, like the stars had written a secret only they could read. Slowly, Laura released his hand, though the warmth stayed. "Thank you, Ryan. Tonight, I learned something I never thought I would." Ryan smiled gently. "And so did I." As they stood together in the quiet, the rooftop felt changed once again. It was no longer only a place for stars, or honesty, but now also a place for rhythm and closeness. That night, when they finally left, both carried the same thought in their hearts: the rooftop was no longer just a meeting place. It was becoming a part of their story. The rooftop had become more than a quiet escape. For Ryan and Laura, it was a secret bridge between their worlds. Every evening, they met under the glass sky, sometimes to talk, sometimes to stand in silence, and sometimes to let music fill the air. Each night carried them closer, as if the stars themselves were weaving their story. But the world outside the rooftop was not silent. Others had begun to notice. One morning, Ryan was called into a meeting with his supervisor, an older officer who rarely smiled. The man leaned across the table, his voice heavy. "I hear you've been spending time with the alien diplomat," he said. "Is this true?" Ryan tried to keep calm. "She has visited the rooftop, yes. We've spoken." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Ryan, you're an engineer on an important colony. Your work keeps this place running. We can't afford distractions. Be careful. Diplomats are here for negotiations, not for personal bonds. Do you understand?" Ryan nodded, though inside he felt a spark of resistance. To him, it was not just a distraction, it was something real. But he said nothing more. At the same time, Laura faced her own warnings. Among her people, whispers had begun. Other diplomats from her world had seen her absence from evening gatherings. They asked quiet questions, and soon one of the senior envoys spoke to her directly. "Laura," the envoy said in a calm but firm voice, "you must remember your duty. We are here to build trust between worlds, but your closeness with a human may be misread. Our people may not approve of such bonds. You must not let feelings cloud your path." Laura bowed her head respectfully, as was custom, but inside her thoughts were restless. She had not planned for this connection with Ryan. Yet each time she stood with him under the stars, she felt something her people's calm rituals had never given her, something alive, something bright. That evening, both Ryan and Laura climbed the stairs to the rooftop with heavier hearts. When they met, they could see the weight in each other's eyes. "You look troubled," Ryan said gently. "So do you," Laura replied. They stood together in silence for a while, the stars above shining as if waiting for them to speak. Finally, Ryan sighed. "They told me I should stay away from you. They think this is only a distraction." Laura lowered her gaze. "My people also warned me. They said closeness with a human will be misunderstood." Her words cut into him like cold wind. "Do you agree with them?" She hesitated, then shook her head slowly. "No. But it is not simple. To walk against our people is like walking against a storm." Ryan stepped closer, his voice steady. "Maybe. But storms pass. What we have, it feels like something worth holding onto. Doesn't it?" Her eyes lifted to his. They glowed softly, filled with a quiet struggle. "It does. But I am afraid. If our bond is seen as weakness, it may harm the alliance between our worlds." Ryan's chest tightened. He wanted to promise her that everything would be fine, but he could not. Instead, he spoke the truth, because that was the human way. "I don't know what will happen, Laura. I only know that when I'm here with you, it feels right. And I don't want to lose that." The rooftop fell silent again, but this time the silence was heavy, like a question neither could answer. The stars above glittered, uncaring of the small worries of two beings beneath them. Laura finally whispered, "If we continue, we will face more pressure. More eyes. More voices telling us to stop." Ryan looked out at the galaxy, then back at her. "Then let them talk. We'll keep meeting here, because this is ours. Not theirs." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, touched with sadness and hope at once. "You are bold, Ryan. That is a human strength. And maybe a weakness," he admitted with a soft laugh. "But I'd rather risk weakness than lose something real." They did not dance that night. They did not share stories of oceans or mountains. Instead, they simply stood side by side, knowing the world outside was pressing against them. Yet in that moment, the rooftop still belonged to them, and to no one else. When they finally parted, Ryan watched her go with a heavy heart. But he also felt something stronger than fear. The warnings of their societies were loud, but the quiet bond between them was louder in his heart. And as Laura descended the stairs, still holding the folded paper flower close, she too knew the truth: pressure could bend them, but it could not break what was already growing under the stars. The colony was alive with voices of caution and doubt, but the rooftop remained the one place untouched by judgment. For Ryan and Laura, it had become more than a glass floor beneath the stars. It was a promise, fragile yet powerful, that two hearts from different worlds could meet in harmony. Still, both knew that time was running short. Laura's people would soon return to their home world to continue the larger negotiations. Ryan's supervisors kept a closer watch on his work. Every path seemed to lead to separation, and yet, every evening, they still climbed the familiar stairs. That night, the sky was clearer than ever. The galaxy spilled across the heavens in 1,000 bright rivers of light. When Laura stepped onto the rooftop, she found Ryan already waiting, his face touched by the glow of the stars. "You came," he said, his voice filled with relief. "Of course," she answered softly. "This place, it has become part of me." For a while they said nothing, letting the silence stretch. The world below them was full of rules and doubts, but above, the sky seemed endless, as if inviting them to dream without limits. Finally, Ryan spoke, his words steady but gentle. "Laura, maybe the world will not understand us. Maybe they will try to separate us. But I don't want this to end with silence. I need you to know how much you mean to me." Her chest tightened. She had expected the words, yet hearing them made her heart race. "Ryan," she whispered, her eyes shining. "Among my people, we are taught to keep emotions calm, like still water. But with you, I feel something different, like the water has learned to dance. I do not want to lose that." Ryan smiled, though his eyes were serious. "Then let's not lose it. Even if our people don't understand today, maybe tomorrow they will. We can be the proof that trust, friendship, and love can grow between worlds." The word love hung in the air, simple but powerful. Laura's breath caught. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then slowly, carefully, she reached out her hand. Ryan took it without hesitation. Their hands, different in shape yet fitting together, felt like the answer to all the doubts. The stars seemed to glow brighter above them. But their story did not belong only to them anymore. Unknown to Ryan and Laura, a small group of humans and envoys from Laura's people had quietly followed, curious about the rumors of their rooftop meetings. They stood at the entrance, watching in silence as the two held hands against the glass sky. One human scientist whispered, "Look at them. They're not fighting, not scheming. They're just, together." An alien envoy, older and wise, murmured in reply, "Perhaps this is what we need to see. Bonds that cross differences. It may be frightening, but it is also hopeful." The watchers did not interrupt. Instead, they left quietly, carrying the image with them, a human and an alien standing side by side under the stars. On the rooftop, Ryan and Laura remained unaware of being seen. They only felt the weight lifting from their hearts. Laura turned to him and said, "When I return to my world, it will not be easy. But I will speak of this. Of you. I will tell them that humanity is not only clever with machines, but also brave in heart. And I'll do the same here," Ryan promised. "I'll tell them that your people are not distant or cold, but full of wisdom and kindness. Maybe if they see us, they'll believe peace is more than words in a treaty." Her smile softened, carrying both sadness and hope. "Then we will not say goodbye. We will say until the stars bring us together again." Ryan's chest ached, but he nodded. Until the stars. That night, they did not try to fight the future. Instead, they accepted it with courage. They stood together for a long time, hand in hand, gazing upward as if to etch the sky into their memories. The glass beneath their feet reflected their shapes, two figures from different worlds, yet joined in a single light. When the time came for Laura to leave, she carried with her the paper flower he had once folded, pressed close to her heart. And Ryan stayed behind, but his eyes often lifted to the heavens, searching for the star that was hers. The rooftop remained, waiting for their return. And though distance stretched between them, the bond they had created shone brighter than doubt, a quiet truth that even the galaxy could not dim. Love had grown on a glass rooftop, and in its light, both human and alien found a new reason to believe.